Garden Italian Kitchen. Our visit date was November 18th, 2024. So, summary about Olive Garden. It is a very well-known chain, but this experience, I arrived during the dinner rush and it offered a pretty typical guest experience, along with a pretty typical experience with Olive Garden. The restaurant had a very welcoming atmosphere with attentive staff greeting us at the entrance at the hostess stand as usual. So I did a good job of trying to be very meticulous about what I was looking for, and I observed various aspects of the guest service process, including the seating, ordering, and payment. And I tried to take notes mentally overall how my dining experience was and how we need to improve it. For the first problem, the waitlist system lacks precision. During my visit, I noticed that Olive Garden uses a waitlist system, but it does not show your exact position in line, so this could lead to uncertainty and frustration for guests, especially if it is during a high data rush. Many guests, including myself, felt unsure of how long the wait could actually be. For a solution for the waitlist system, you could use a system to display the guest's exact position in line to provide more transparency. This would help guests feel more informed and reduce frustration while waiting for a table. My research for this is OpenTable. It is a waitlist system that emphasizes real-time updates and precise position tracking specifically to improve customer satisfaction by reducing a lot of the uncertainty that can come with waiting in lines and unsure of wait times. Providing a lot of transparency in the waitlist process allows guests to better manage their time and enhance their overall experience. So an example for the precision waitlist system would be Chili's. It's also a very well-known dining chain along the same lines of Olive Garden. It shows their exact position in line using the waitlist system that they use. So it makes it really transparent, and this could be a factor into why Chili's is doing well in sustaining their place in the dining experience category that they're in. Problem two would be the menu stagnation. During my visit and comparing to visits I've had in many years past, in my entire lifetime going to Olive Garden, they do lack exciting or innovative dishes to attract repeat visits. If that's what you're looking for, if you're looking for the same thing, then people would come back. But I like to change things up and have variety over time. But while the classic items are reliable, there were limited seasonal specials or options catered to or catering to dietary trends. The solution to this would just to be introducing seasonal dishes and rotate innovative menu items that haven't been done before at Olive Garden, like having a local restaurant as a waiter uh, introduce the specials for the week, for the day. They could do something like that and just adding more items to them, and then adding items to the dietary preferences, such as plant-based, low carb, or gluten-free. So my research for this, according to Java's POS, regularly updating menu items with seasonal specials and diverse dietary options is critical for maintaining a guest's interest and attracting repeat business. A lack of variety can lead to a perception of predictability, which may deter customers seeking fresh and exciting new dining experiences. So an example for this would be Applebee's. I always feel like I see regular updates and new specials that they do, like summer barbecue or holiday themed dishes and drinks. So incorporating diverse and rotating menu options, Applebee's attracts new diners and retains loyal customers over the years. For problem three would be the value perception. We all know the $6.99 soup salad and breadsticks. While that is promoted as a value deal, many other items seem to be overpriced compared to the competitors. Since that seems so cheap, it's like, why would I even get a meal? Is it even worth spending that money, all that extra money? So this makes Olive Garden feels less appealing for the price sensitive customers, especially for families or lower income diners. So another solution would be to introduce the limited time promotions, like for more of an individual stance. I know that they do like a family style takeout, but I feel like that isn't as popular as just an individual diner wanting to go out and have a cheaper meal. Whereas I feel like it's less popular to buy a meal for a family of six out. But this could highlight the value of existing offers more effectively, such as a portion sizes and included size to improve perceived affordability. According to his Zagat survey, found that nearly 60% of diners rank value for money as the most important factor when choosing a restaurant. This could highlight the importance of offering competitive pricing or targeted promotions. For an example of this, it's going to be Chili's again, who uses promotions like the 3 for $10.99 deal, which would be a meal for more of an event individual, which I mentioned before. So this would bundle a appetizer, entree, and drink, effectively targeting the budget conscious customers that are being drawn to places like Chili's and Olive Garden. This strategy could help Chili's remain competitive in the casual dining sector. So for the fourth problem would be the quality inconsistency. I just noticed that the quality of the food was inconsistent. While a lot of the appetizers are like breadsticks and salad were great, I didn't feel like my pasta lived up to that same level. So the inconsistency would just detract from the overall guest experience and would discourage return visits. So implementing stricter quality control measures across all locations, as it probably is done, but it could be done better through management and um, working through systems that they could implement would help improve the preparation and consistency. For the research, according to Marga's Food Blog, a very popular food blog, Olive Garden's food quality varies significantly, with dishes like the chicken parmigiana compared to frozen supermarket deals tend to be about the same as they are bland and uninspired. So it just needs to be have stricter quality controls and standardized recipes. For an example of this, a very other well-known casual dining is Texas Roadhouse, as it definitely maintains strict quality standards because they have people ordering steak specifically and they need to know how to cook a steak from anywhere from rare to well done. So this approach has helped Texas Roadhouse maintain a high guest satisfaction across all locations across the country.
Here I'm going to talk about our eighth problem with Olive Garden, and that's high employee turnover. I'm actually in a class, and I know somebody that works at Olive Garden, and he told me that they are hiring new employees almost every week. This means they have a very high turnover rate and a low retention for their employees, and that can lead to a number of problems. And I think mainly that's going to negatively impact their customer service, just because with a high turnover rate, you're going to have less experienced workers, and some employees might even, just be in training, and that quality of customer service isn't going to be up to par with somebody that's been working there for a while. Solution to this, I think, is the best way to combat this turnover, is to be picky with who the Olive Garden is going to hire. Um, they have to hire people with the correct skills, but I think more importantly, they have to hire correct attitudes. Um, this would improve customer service, um, also decreasing turnover rates, because with hiring employees with more positive attitudes, you would create a better culture within the restaurant for the employees, um, and give them far fewer reasons for them to quit. And this would improve customer service because you would have experienced people that have worked there for a while. Research backing this up, Walden University published an article highlighting their top 6 strategies to combat employee turnover, and their top strategy was to find the right talent. The article explains that many employees have the correct skills, but not all the candidates are going to have the correct attitude for what the manager is trying to create in their culture. One thing I liked is they suggested using behavioral interview questions to really figure out what the candidate's personality is like and help them navigate who to hire and who not to. An example of a restaurant chain that actually has high retention rates is Five Guys. And the main reason for that is for their assistance programs. They offer tuition assistance and a GED program. And they also offer a English as a second language. So they offer that course for employees that might not speak English as a first. Um, our ninth problem is ensuring food and produce is fresh. Olive Garden, a multinational restaurant chain, meaning their supply chains are going to be very complicated with distributors, um, and it makes the company prone to global disruptions. Um, and these disruptions can lead to um, less availability, but I think also the food is going to be, the ingredients are not going to be fresh. This issue becomes even worse when you consider that they offer seafood dishes. I think that's a big thing. It's a big food category that consumers want fresh. Solution, Olive Garden should look into sourcing more of their ingredients locally. This would grant Olive Garden the ability to avoid freezing their food for unnecessarily long periods of time. And without freezing, the quality of food would increase dramatically. Research here, Amy Schmidt wrote an article in Producers Stories highlighting the benefits for restaurants to source locally. According to her, sourcing locally boosts quality control. Restaurants can source from farms, from companies locally that they know are going to be consistent, and it also simplifies logistics. She also explains that sourcing locally, large restaurants can more effectively stimulate local economies. Example of a restaurant chain that does this well is Chipotle. The company actually set a goal in 2023 of sourcing 37.5 million pounds of produce locally, which they did achieve. Chipotle, they also offer virtual farmers markets, which is a way for customers to directly connect with the family farms that um, supply the Chipotle restaurants. And our last problem here is changing customer preferences. I think with consumers looking for more healthy options, Olive Garden has kind of fallen out of popularity. And yeah, customers they're looking for healthier options for restaurants to eat at. This means Olive Garden it's not chosen as much as in years prior. Solution here is to introduce menu items as healthy alternatives. These new dishes would appeal to more customers, especially those looking for healthy alternatives, and would align with a larger customer base. Research here is a study by Mintel in 2016. They found that nearly half of customers agreed that finding healthy items on restaurant menus is too difficult. The study also found that 46% of restaurant goers are interested in healthier dishes when compared with the dishes that are on the menu. With these statistics, it is pretty easy to see why Olive Garden has been falling in popularity in recent years. And our example of a restaurant chain that actually provides healthier dishes is Chick-fil-A. In the past years, Chick-fil-A is not really perceived as the healthiest place to go, but they have added menu items like wraps and salads to kind of appeal to that larger audience. They also added substitutes to existing menu items. Like with their sandwiches, you can substitute different kinds of buns on theirs, depending on what you're looking for.
Moving on to my part of the presentation, we start with problem number 5, parking lot accessibility. During my visit at my hometown Olive Garden, I noticed that the parking lot was very small and empty. The pavement was very weathered as it was cracking everywhere. There was potholes bigger than the ones in St. Louis. There was just obvious that there was no attempt or effort or anything really dumped into the parking lot ever since the building had been constructed. It was not very busy at the time that I conducted my visit, as it had just opened. I believe it was like 11 a.m. It was very, very new to opening that day. And so there was not a ton of people, but I could still see how the parking lot was very small and cramped. And just the general problems that would occur when trying to show up and eat. There are about 10 spots right here on this picture, and about 4 to 5 behind me, so 15 altogether, which would not be a lot, even though my town is not the biggest with the population about 11,000 people. It still seems like a fairly small parking lot for a restaurant, where everybody would have to almost ride together and carpool in order to show up and feel like they have plenty of room to park and feel comfortable in leaving their vehicle in a spot that won't get dinged up or, maybe hit a light post, just something that people worry about. And I think this parking lot, you see a lot of problems with it. Moving on to the solution. I think that the company could invest some more money into a construction company that can come and redesign the layout for the parking lot, just to make it more accessible and feel less cramped. They can just come in and maybe tear up some of the ground in order to put down new and flatter pieces to help or reconstruct the shape of the previous parking lot, just to help maximize the space that you have, because everybody's limited to the square footage that they have for a property. I get that, and so you have to make the best with what's due. But I just felt like they could make it parallel along one side, or alongside the front of the building, and then parallel in the back to maximize both sides, and then they could still have that little lot in the back, and that would almost add a whole nother 8 cars, I feel like. The other thing they could do is add EV charging stations in the parking lot if they were to add construction to it. This would just help make the restaurant more attractive to more customers, as some people would find that very efficient and to go eat while their car charges, and it would just be like killing 2 birds with 1 stone. And I think it would only make people happier and more satisfied, as they could come to your establishment, charge their car, park it, and just go inside and enjoy a nice meal, and then come out and their car is charged, they're full, they're ready to go home, they don't have anything else to do. It would just increase the overall satisfaction, and like I said, it targets another demographic of customers, the ones that drive electric vehicles, and it just helps get more people inside the door. Moving on to research number 6 with the parking lot accessibility. I read in Mad Dog Mobile Blog that published an article back in 2021 about to have an efficient parking lot. They recommended that there should be no big obstacles that are taking up space to help allow more room for parking. Some companies have some restaurants have a small catch or something that they're known for. Olive Garden really doesn't have a statue or a mascot per se that they would be known for, so they wouldn't really need any large obstacles. I think they could just use their concrete pads strictly for parking. They don't really need any eye attraction or eye appeal, curb appeal, whatever your term you're most familiar with. But they don't really need that, as the majority of their satisfaction and entertainment comes from inside the doors, with their really good food. Staff parking off-site would add slight inconvenience to the employees, to their workload, as they would have to walk to and from their cars. And I am from northern Iowa, so it gets very cold where I'm from, which would be a very unpleasant walk in the winter times. And sometimes people just have a really long day, and the last thing they want to do is walk a hefty way to their car after a long shift. So it would be a little inconvenient for the employees, but I think the restaurant would see that it would be more beneficial for their customers to have more parking if they didn't have to worry about their 8 or 9, possibly 10 employees they have working, taking up spots, because majority of them don't carpool. So that's just 10 whole spots taken completely up by the employees. And like I said, that's already about 2/3 of your parking lot. So it would just be a huge way to add more customer parking. So the parking lot accessibility, I noticed that here in Columbia at G&D Steakhouse, they have a very, very big and open concept when it comes to parking. Granted, it does help that they have multiple stores around them, but that only helps them as a lot of other websites where like wheel and deal with your neighbors, as you can partner up with your neighboring businesses, and maybe you do give them a small split of the revenue since they're providing a small service for your establishment. But you can do that, and that would allow them to have your customers park on their lot, and they would still be able to have a short walk into your building and eat your food where you'd make the majority of the money, and it would still be a good investment on your part. Problem number 6, I would say, was the overall cleanliness of the restaurant. During the visit, it was quite obvious the floor was in need of a good cleaning due to all the food on it. You could tell that like the major items had been moved, but there was just a bunch of crumbs, napkins here and there, silverware. Like I said, it was just kind of dirty. There were tables that were, I would assume they were saying cleaned off, but someone probably requested a different table have sat there, and I thought that especially since I was there right as they were opening. It was pretty dirty, and I would just assume it was from the night before, which they could have been busy. I wasn't sure, but I just thought it was kind of ridiculous since they had just opened their doors for that day, and it was still pretty dirty from the night before. The bathrooms weren't in the worst shape, but I would say it would still not meet the satisfaction of most managers. There was stuff all over the mirrors. I noticed the toilets were clogged, but the sinks were fairly clean, and the urinals had fresh cakes and smelled very good. Moving on to the solution, I would say management could provide a detailed checklist for the employees to do at the end of their shift to ensure the restaurant is clean. When I worked at a restaurant for my first job back when I was 15, I was kind of a busboy, and that was one of my biggest roles or tasks, was just at the end of the night to make sure that I could do as much as I could and help cleaning, so that way if waiters or cooks had stuff still going on, they could maintain whatever they were doing, and then I could just go around and try to help check off the list in order to make sure things were clean. So that's kind of what leads me to my next point, was that the staff often finds themselves too busy. They could just hire an additional busboy, so that way someone can run around and grab dishes while maybe someone else could grab a broom, or just find another way to help out, whether that's taking out trash or just providing some more free time for other people. The research behind that would be the Clover blog, as they made a post about how they could reduce messes at the restaurants. That was actually reduced by the patrons. Their method was to provide the customers with more napkins and bigger plates, which I thought was kind of ridiculous. But then once I kind of started thinking about the minute details, I thought it was genius, because more napkins, the people feel like they are able to just clean up their own mess. And then bigger plates allows for more room to where stuff won't fall off the plate, and it will not end up on the floor, will not end up on the table, which could then end up on the floor. So, like I said, it really seemed silly at first, but then once I thought more about it, it just seemed to make more sense, and I found out the reason why I was at the number 1 spot of the list. So for the example that a establishment could follow would be that an establishment that would be a good example would be Chick-fil-A. They have strict guidelines that refer to the cleanliness and friendliness of their restaurant that everyone would know. And you never really hear bad things about a clean restaurant. And I feel like that's a really big thing to do with your reputation, as a lot of people will, that's how they make their decision is, well, they will go look at like how clean is this restaurant. Some people, are really big about that and will not hold back on the internet. So to have a good reputation that's saying, hey, good, clean food goes a long way for a lot of people. And that would just help make you look better. Moving on to problem 7, which would be the waiting times. Olive Garden, similar to Texas Roadhouse, offers unlimited breadsticks. This is great. They're awesome. The only problem is the wait. You eat your first batch of breadsticks, and it seems like it could be, it could be added until your food arrives, maybe your drinks. It normally takes a varied amount of time, and it's normally never very quick. There are other reviews on Yelp that state that during rush hour, which is, that's a given. During rush hour, the times are going to be a little longer. But they can actually get quite ridiculous. There were people that were saying it could be up to 45 minutes to an hour, which rush hours, which more normally be just lunch and dinner. Dinner, you'd have more time to spend, I'd imagine. But if people are just trying to take a quick lunch break and want to go to Olive Garden, this could be quite inconvenient for them as they're trying to get back to work, and yet they're stuck at Olive Garden waiting. A solution for the waiting times could be Olive Garden could establish a streamlined menu design that would eliminate a few of their less popular dishes that people don't really eat anyway, and ensure that they would have more time to focus on and reduce the waiting times. Some people will be upset by some items leaving the menu, but this could help the others, or the vast majority of customers that come for the more popular items, and this just allows the cooks to have more time to just focus on those dishes. They could also change their ordering process. They could switch to digital, so that way when the waiter or waitress takes an order, it will automatically be sent back to the kitchen, and you don't have to wait for that waiter to take everybody's order. If it could be a large group, 8 people, you order the first, and then by the time the last person is done, it could be 6 minutes have gone by. That could be 6 minutes used for the cook to be looking at your meal, preparing the ingredients, and then getting it started. And then for the research behind that, ChowBuzz writes in their article, How to Reduce Waiting Time in Restaurants and 15 Key Strategies. They published very recently, actually, in August of 2024, something as little as proper seating can have the biggest difference. And they were just saying a convenient route that makes a lot of sense by the kitchen can just help with getting meals out to the customers quicker, obviously, and warmer. Pre-preparation and batch cooking are also simple yet efficient ways to prepare food while ensuring high quality and less wait time. An example of that would be Los Margs. That is another restaurant local to Columbia, or I shouldn't say local to Columbia, but it's in Columbia, and is a great restaurant to look at when it comes to customer wait time. They have a wide range of meals, so it's not like they just provide 2 or 3 different things. Wide range, and they're all unique in their own ways, but at the same time, there are a few common dishes you would find in a lot of meals. And then that just allows for the batch cooking, so they can provide large amounts of, say, like rice or refried beans or chips, whatever it be. They can just cook a large batch, and then they just have to worry about maintaining temperature in order to keep customers satisfied.
So to wrap everything up for our presentation, why should you invest in improving guest experience? Overall guest experiences increase loyalty, leading to more repeat customers and consistent revenue growth. According to this National Restaurant Association, customer loyalty programs and enhanced guest experiences result in a 20 to 30% increase in repeat visits, leading to long-term revenue growth. Positive experience generate better online reviews and attracting new diners and strengthening Olive Garden's reputations. For specifically Olive Garden, their biggest impacts are going to be the investments in operational efficiency, like quicker seating and improved cleanliness, would create a smoother experience for both guests and staff. Addressing the price sensitivity with targeted promotions expands appeal to budget-conscious diners, ensuring that Olive Garden remains competitive. So that's what we have for our presentation. Here are some of our references, and thank you for listening.